Welcome back to another episode of Connection Loop. I'm your host, Darius Santos. We here are to share information with our CEOs, founders, leaders, from our CEOs, founders, and leaders, some of our favorite people to learn from and learn with. And guys, we are here today with a very special guest, Kevin. And if you guys are in the position of either in the process of hiring a sales team or hoping one day to get to that point to hire your sales team, or maybe you've already made some of these mistakes and hired a team, you're going to find a tremendous amount of value hearing what Kevin has to share. So stay tuned for the next few minutes. And I'm happy to introduce Kevin. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll jump right into today's topic.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for having me first and foremost. I love this topic, but I currently I'm the vice president of revenue at BioCentury. I do some advising as well for early stage startups. I've been in sales leadership roles for the last 15 years, and a lot of what I've had to do is build and scale sales organizations. And so anything from early days, early startups where there's no team in place whatsoever, all the way through kind of coming into a team that's already existing and identifying ways to grow and scale that. And so made a lot of mistakes over the years, right? A lot of pitfalls and things that I've learned from. So I'm always really excited and love to share, the things I've learned to kind of pay it back and pay it forward. So yeah, really excited to chat today.
Love that. Love that. Well, I personally have a couple questions for you too. I know a handful of my clients that are going to directly benefit from this. So I'm going to start with some of the smaller people, and then we'll swim our way up. So awesome. I know you mentioned here, like ground zero, right? We got the founder, or they got a marketing team. They got a couple people. They don't have a sales team yet though. What does that process look like to begin? Is it just a Indeed, job posting or whatever, or is it what would you say? How can we go about this intelligently? And then please share some of those mistakes that our founders and people can avoid.
Yeah, so I think if you're very early days, right, looking to hire maybe like your first or second salesperson, I think two things really kind of jump out to me there is one, going to hire somebody with the shiny big logos on their resume is like pitfall number one, right? You really have to hire for what I refer to as like the reality of your world, right? You probably don't have onboarding. You don't probably have processes documented. There's a lot of figuring it out, right? And so I think, you have to be able to find that person that fits well and thrives in that startup-y, scrappy environment, right? They're builders, not optimizers, right? Someone who can come in and build your sales playbook, learn more about your ICP, your personas. They may not have every tool at their disposal, so like super scrappy builders. The other is, especially when you're kind of coming off of founder-led sales into developing a sales team, the founder, like, it's their story, it's their baby. It's not going to be the same with somebody else, right? Never is, right? Usually a lot of the time the founders, they're able to tap into their network, lean into investors for introductions, right? This is a completely different motion, right? And so it's going to take longer. They're not going to convert as well as you do from the jump, right? So just having expectations set in terms of what it takes to onboard somebody, get them set up for success, and realistic expectation on their results is something super important to think about.
I love that. All right, so not at all what you might think of up front, which is, don't go for the guy with the big shiny resume that worked sales at Google or something like that. Go for the guy, because he's great at what he does, but he's also used to working with a full sales deck and technologies and processes and scriptings and everything already ready to go, and he just comes up and knocks it out of the park. Versus if you're in this stage of hiring, you're beginning this process, that's actually not the ideal candidate. For one, their salary request is probably much higher versus a more junior rep, and then secondly, you need a builder. You need someone who's scrappy that can help you understand that process, build it for you, with you, and grow with you. So guys, that's a really important message to take away. You're not looking for the former sales rep at XYZ big company name. You're looking for the person that is going to be able to grow with you, and be able to perform, of course, but have not have so much baggage, if you will. Very cool. Okay, now let's transition a little bit just upstream to some of our more seasoned audience members, where they have a small sales team, they have a handful of people, but things aren't like and just sidebar really quickly. A lot of our clients and just SaaS and general sales in general, we've noticed over the last year or two, there's been a change, right? There's been a shift in instead of just hiring 20 people and seeing what the Shark Tank in the room, which sharks are going to survive, right?
Yeah.
That methodology maybe isn't working so well anymore, because even the base and committee, like, it's not working. So people are saying quality over this quantity. And so as that started, what are your thoughts on that piece? The whole sales team's kind of shrinking to grow, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely happening in the marketplace, right? Like, you go back 2-3 years ago, tons of open sales roles. People were throwing headcount at growth, right?
Yeah.
But what we quickly realized is that there wasn't enough pipeline, there wasn't enough interest or demand to feed and support that level of growth. Right. And so I'm seeing a really interesting sort of shift right now, where a lot of companies are investing more into marketing, right? And making sure that they can actually feed their sales team, right? If you're hiring sales to go create demand, you're doing it wrong, right? You have to be able to create the demand and interest in your product for sales to convert, right? And so a lot of the marketers I'm kind of talking with, and even with us right now at BioCentury, we're really looking at, like, how do we start driving more engagement within our prospects and within our TAM, right? And we're really monitoring engagement, and every single tier of engagement, we have a new play that we're running to kind of try and pop them up to the next tier. And then it's like, all right, hey, we have an engagement score. This is where they're at. That's where sales jumps in, right? And so if you don't have the interest or the demand to feed the sales team, that's where you're just going to be spinning your wheels, because sales is not out there to create the demand. They're there to convert it and close it.
I love that kind of shift in mentality, because that's certainly not how people viewed it even in recent years, right? They're like, well, hire a bunch of salespeople, buy some lists, and go create demand. Like, that's how it works, right? And then now with deliverability issues, the email, just like strictness and limits on LinkedIn, SMS, like everything is throttling that sort of mass spray and pray approach. So I love this sense of guys, we need to generate the demand from a different level. Marketing and sales are separate. Sales is there to facilitate the demand, facilitate what marketing is generated. And back in the day, it could be, maybe hybrid, where one guy could pound the phones and blast thousands of emails, and that was a sales guy's job. Those times have changed, though, and the role of this salesperson, right? We can't force things down people so they can do a Google search. The AI will tell them a recap of whatever very quickly. So people are informed, and it's up to marketing to really put out the information out there for people to come across this and say, hey, this looks interesting. I need to talk to somebody about this. And that's where sales roles are really being ROI driven. They're valuable, that they actually are fulfilling their need, not just saying, hey, go send 100,000 emails and text messages, email, whatever, LinkedIn's this week, and generate all your everything yourself. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's a different world, right? Like, and I look at it like when I first got into sales, it was 100, 150 cold calls a day, and you could still sell. You could sell a lot doing that, right? And it was, there's one decision maker, maybe two. Here's my pitch. There was less competition. There was less noise. It's a completely different landscape today, right? There's more content. There's more competition for what you're out there selling. People don't want to have a pitch slammed down their throat. They want to have business conversations, right? And especially with, I think, a lot of, I'm sure as soon as I get off this, I'm going to have 50 new sales emails in my inbox, right? Like, there's just a lot of noise. So finding those ways to stand out and really understand your personas and your potential customers, and how you can help and how you can alleviate pain or challenges or problems they're facing, it's a completely different world.
It's this double-edged sword that we're all dealing with AI and automation and stuff, because as AI gets really good at writing messages, and then automation can go and scale and send all these things, but that's what's creating all this noise, all this very generic noise that every agency and little mom and pop, like whatever. And then now our businesses are directly competing with individuals and consumers. And so there's 100 plus messages in our prospects inbox we have to compete with every day. And it's, if it's not something they're interested in, that makes the outreach 10 times harder. So no. Okay. Let's go back. We talked about the SMB stuff. We talked about sort of the shift in salespeople's roles in general. So guys, easy takeaways from this. Don't go after the big guy, the high ticket salesperson because they worked at Google, right? Find someone scrappy to grow with. And then 2, don't have the expectations that you're going to hire salespeople to go then create the demand for your product or service. Guys, it's that day is, it's still possible maybe, but it's gone where you can't do that anymore so easily. You don't go hire 10 salespeople to generate demand for your business. We have to work smarter. We have to generate the demand for those salespeople to then engage with those leads and opportunities. Okay, another shift here. What about our sort of, let's swim upstream a little. We have our existing sales team, maybe mid-market, small B. So, a couple of people to, dozens or so sales team. So we're not quite enterprise yet, but what would your advice be to them? Let's say an organization, because this is common, guys, it's happening right now to our clients, to others, where they had this sales team of 10, 20, 24 people, and performance over this last year or two has decreased, and they've had to scale back as a result. What would you say? Go back to the drawing board for them. What would be the advice here?
Yeah, I think if you have an established team, right, and you've got a handful of reps that are executing a process, and you're actually starting to see repeatable success, right? I think the biggest pitfall is when you're not starting to document best practice, right? In the early days, when you have a couple different reps, like, you're figuring it out, right? So people might be running deals through a little bit of a different sales process, a different motion. As you want to scale, you have to be able to define what good looks like, right? And you have to be able to start documenting those things and start building in, a sales process where you can actually see some data on the performance, right?
Right.
And so too many times I've seen, kind of sales organizations that got a couple of reps, things are going good, but they can't explain why, right?
And I don't know what's going on. We're getting leads, we're getting deals.
It's like, hey, it's something's working, so let's hire more, right? And it's really hard to be able to scale if you don't have an idea of what's working, why it's working, or what good looks like, right? So just being able to start to define best practice and start to document things, right? How you move through your sales motion, really, really important, because once you get to that stage, you're going to be constantly kind of tinkering and optimizing that end-to-end motion. So if you can't explain why, and you start just trying to throw more on the top, it's probably not going to work out.
I love that. It's like that 80-20 rule, right? Where the 20% of the activities that you spend generate, 80% of your income. And so focus on that 20%, what is working. In regards to that, what would you say is like either a process, a technology, or something that we can use to help with that? Is it just sort of like CRM after the call management and you're entering notes on the deal? Or is it a Slack channel where we're like, hey guys, great feedback here? Or what would you say is a good vehicle or mechanism for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not doing anything today, right, just to start, literally, like, doesn't have to be technology, doesn't have to be a tool, but just start to actually document what are the touch points we have with our customers. Like, just start to document what that customer journey looks like, right?
Yeah.
Is first call, discovery call, and then you're setting up demo call, and then is there going into a trial? What happens after the trial? Like, what happens during the trial, right? But just start to document what the interactions you have with your customers are. And once you start to visualize that, you can actually start to we could probably be doing more here, right? Yeah. And again, it's something that, I joined BioCentry October, right, of last year. And, this was one of the first things I started to do was let's just see what our customer journey looks like for these folks. And where do we think we have an opportunity to optimize? What could we condense, right? Where are we maybe going wrong? That's the simplest way. And then once you have that, right, being able to convert that into a sales process in your
Yeah.
CRM, super, super helpful, because then you can start to kind of actually measure, right, conversions
Right.
and outcomes, right? And so don't over engineer it at first, but
Mm.
I'm one of those people that I love to see the data of our customer journey and seeing conversions and outcomes, because then it's like, I know where we can make an impact, right?
Totally.
Like trying to go and fix and grow sales is like boiling the ocean. But if you
Right.
can say, hey, but if we can increase our, conversion here in the early
Right.
days, the output over here is great. So that's where I'd start.
No, I love that actually too. We in fact just did that these last couple of weeks. We've been releasing a whole bunch of stuff, and one of the main things we rebuilt here at Dub was our primary drip sequence. So when someone signs up to Dub, that little automation, we figured, well, that's one of our biggest salespeople right there, and it's they work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and so let's make sure they're doing things right. And so we went and really honed in on each of those individual steps, and we looked at conversion rates and stuff. So I love that, and it's a I guess for us, it's all hands on deck type of meeting too, because of the priority in that workflow. Very cool. Okay, now what about, let's say, one more swim upstream for big sales teams that are established and going through this change now? Is there, would you say, a process? I mean, not to sound cutthroat, but I know a lot of what it's been is with my other clients, we look at our top producers, we say, congratulations, you guys are sticking around, and then everybody else,
Yeah.
sorry, you're not hitting quota. It's the numbers aren't working anymore. Let's say someone just went through that pruning. What are their next steps? Because obviously we want to scale back up. We want to get to that point where it is. Do you think we double down on the processes of the people that are winning? Do we try to find more of those people, or is it the demand gen? What would you say for our bigger folks out there?
Yeah, I mean, what makes this fun and tough is like there's not a silver bullet, right?
No, yeah,
Like
of course.
that's the tricky part of this. But I think when you're at that stage, what I start to look at is the supporting cast of sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
So investing in revenue operations, right? Investing in sales enablement. Like, what are the different kind of functions or resources you can build into the team? Because what a lot of sales organizations are facing right now is you've got your top performers that are carrying the weight, but then you got a whole lot of performers that just aren't making it. So I think one is your supporting cast to enable your sales team more and your top performers. And I think a part of that also is really having a good kind of career progression outline for folks, right? Like if you've got top performers and they're doing really well, that's fantastic, but they're either they either need to see ways they can grow within the
Or they're
organization, or they're growing out, right? But then I think the other part of it is if you're going to try to build back up and hire more folks on the team, really analyze like what makes your top performer a top performer, and then the folks that weren't performing well, why is that, and how can you just completely alter your interview, hiring, and onboarding process to do so, right? And again, you're just constantly tinkering, constantly optimizing with those things. But I think that there's just a lot of the time it's like, oh, they're our top performers, they're doing great, they must be happy, right? And it's
just leave them alone, they're good.
Yeah, right. And it's like, man, so it's like you really got to make sure like your top performers, like they're feeling the love, they're feeling the engagement, but they see a really good path to continue to be there.
Wow, man, I love that. We've gotten some gold guys in each of these stages. So whether you have not hired person yet, right? That's an eventuality of every business, guys. Whether you're a solopreneur, small business owner, the eventuality is for you to step away, right? And do less of founder-led sales, less of leader-led sales. Have your employees come pick up this opportunity for you so you can enjoy the benefits of being a founder or CEO or sales leader. So whether you're in that position or you have your small team, we talked about some benefits there. And then finally, we left with the enterprise opportunities here, retaining your best talent, guys. Whether it's your one salesperson and they're your top producer, or we have 10 top producers in your organization, retaining that talent is going to be extremely important. And by providing them a path to success, a path of growth, is what sounds like an opportunity to help retain that talent. Communicate with them, right? They say the squeaky wheel gets the grease here. In this case, they're not squeaking. They're running smoothly, efficiently, but they still need some grease. They still need some attention. So do not neglect your top talent, whether that's the one salesperson on your team that's doing well or the group within your organization. And also we learned to invest, guys, because how much cheaper is it to buy a piece of technology to empower a less than top producer than it is to hire another person? It's so much more efficient to enable a singular, the existing sales staff than it is to hire and train and onboard and benefits and all that with somebody new. So I love that idea as well, this concept of let's invest in our existing team, in maybe the people that need support. They're great for us. They know our product or service, our ICPs. They just need some help. They need some technology, some support. And then same thing with our top producers, right? It's either an investment and to retain them with communication, with path, with incentive, and with technology, with tools, right? If you make their lives easier with what they're asking for, then that's a path to success and retaining our top talent as well. So, man, okay. One last thing here. Takeaways. If we're in one of these roles, small, mid, or large, what would be one takeaway for this year or coming up with in regards to scaling and hiring a sales team? One thing we should avoid. I know we talked about some really cool ones for each individually. Any other big takeaways here? Don't do this, like your top 2 biggest mistakes or whatever it is. What do we got?
Yeah, I think the other thing I would share as a major pitfall I've seen is, companies are looking at how we're going to grow revenue next year or in the future, and it's let's go upstream, right? We're selling the SMB, let's go mid-market, right? And again, it's not saying that that's a bad strategy, but if you're selling into mid-market today, hiring an enterprise salesperson is not going to fix it, right? It's not going to change things. Or if you see more growth of continuing to sell into mid-market, hiring an enterprise seller. So again, generally speaking, it's like hire for your reality, whether that's your average contract values, your sales cycles, whether that's the resources you have to onboard and train people, whatever it may be, but try to just hire for your reality, because that aspirational hire to come fix all your problems, there's no magic wand there, unfortunately.
I think this is actually really important because there is that expression that people say, sales cures all, right? Yeah. And I think that people have this misconception. They're like, oh, I just need more salespeople to cure the problems. That's definitely not what that expression means, guys. It means more pipeline, more sales generated is the cure to all the problems. So I love this concept. If this is new to you, I definitely know it is. Some people have misinterpreted it, and I've heard it before. Like, oh, we just need more salespeople. This is not the case anymore, guys. Do not hire for your reality. You don't hope to get to enterprise, so you hire the enterprise person and they're going to come crack the code for you. If you're having success in mid-market, double down in mid-market, focus there, because that's where you're already having success. That is your reality. It doesn't mean you shy away from upstream, but it means that you don't overextend yourself in an uncharted territory, right? Yeah. Have your mid-market person, hire that other person, maybe have the second mid-market, take some of the slack, and then have your mid-market expert try swimming upstream. Something like that. Well, instead of just going all out, all risk by hiring an enterprise salesperson when you yourself in your organization don't have that experience, the case studies, the contacts, right? It's like breaking through a barrier without the proper tools. You don't have the safe cracker. You got the guy, but you don't have the tools. So probably not a best use of your time. So internally, right? Promote internally, work your way up there naturally. And once you've had your initial success, then you can leverage that for continued growth in that channel. So
absolutely.
Amazing. Well, Kevin, this has been awesome. We usually go about 20 minutes. We went a little bit over because it was all good. So I didn't want to stop. So sometimes it's like, okay, I think that's enough. We'll call it an end. So, no, these have all been good, man. I appreciate your time here. Guys, I'm going to share this resource with you. This is how you're going to connect with Kevin. Kevin, tell us more about your other opportunity as well. Not just
I mean, honestly, if folks find value in this, or if they're curious about it, they want to learn a bit more. Again, you can see my LinkedIn profile there. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk through these things and help out however I can. So again, just hope this was valuable for a few folks out there.
Right, and then guys, this isn't a random thing. He is educated on this topic, as he mentioned, years of experience. lots of connections. So it sounds like an awesome opportunity to connect. Kevin, you'll probably hear from me, man. We'll talk.
Amazing. Yeah, no, happy to talk shop.
Right on. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next episode of Connection Loop.